Bebe Rexha, phone thrower. You may well be familiar with some footage that have been doing the rounds that shows Bebe Rexha getting hit in the face with a mobile phone, a cell phone, at a Sunday night concert in New York City. That act, to throw a phone from the audience and strike another person in the face, provides me with an opportunity to utilise that behaviour to explain another facet of the way that a narcissist may behave. Now, the individual who threw the phone is called Nicholas Malvania. He's aged 27. He ended up being tracked down by security and arrested for the alleged assault. We don't have a huge amount of detail about Mr. Malvania, and therefore, as I always explain to you, if we are to determine what somebody is, are they a narcissist, or are they narcissistic but not a narcissist, are they a normal or are they an empath, we need to look at a range of behaviour over a sustained period of time to make the appropriate determination. With a narcissist, we're looking for somebody that shows repeated instances of a sense of entitlement, an absence of emotional empathy, that they demonstrate a lack of accountability for their behaviours, that they have magical thinking, that they have a preoccupation with the idea of being success, the belief that they're somehow special, a reliance upon fuel. We're looking for somebody that's grandiose in many of their behaviours, somebody who can be haughty. We're looking for evidence of manipulations used time and time again, lack of boundary recognition, and various aspects of the narcissistic dynamic. Anybody can exhibit some of those behaviours at one point or another in their lives. Somebody who's not a narcissist could engage in such behaviour because there's a diminution of their emotional empathy occasioned by an external stressor. In other instances, it could be that they just don't have emotional empathy for that particular person at that particular time, but they do have emotional empathy and aren't abusive towards other people. With the narcissist, we're looking for the behaviours that I just described happening again and again and again and again over that sustained period of time. And we don't have sufficient information with regard to Mr. Malvania to say he is definitely a narcissist. But based on this material and his actions following the event, I would say there's a good chance that he is one, because he's exhibiting certain indicators, and they are strong indicators. Let's find out more about what went on. Mr. Malvania is a luxury dog kennel worker who allegedly committed the crime. Nicholas Malvania was arrested late Sunday night after his former leader with a cut on her face required 3 stitches. Now, to randomly throw a phone like that, first of all, comes across as pretty stupid. So the individual concerned is exhibiting a low cognitive function. It does not appear that he knew the individual concerned. Instead, what has occurred is that in behaving in this fashion, there is a physical assault, which is a rudimentary form of manipulation, which evidences an absence of emotional empathy and a lack of accountability for Mr. Malvania's behaviour. He also shows a sense of entitlement to behave like that towards somebody who essentially puts themselves in a vulnerable position, standing on a stage in front of everybody else. Malvania of New Jersey is facing 2 counts of assault, 1 count of harassment, 1 count of aggravated harassment, and 1 count of attempted assault after he was arraigned at the Manhattan Criminal Court. Dressed in grey shorts and a dark t-shirt, he was escorted by his attorneys out of the courthouse on Monday. According to the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, Malvania confessed to the crime and said, "I was trying to see if I could hit her with the phone at the end of the show because it would be funny." Now you might think, well, he could just be an arsehole, and indeed he could be. But to engage in such a confession and not see anything problematic about such behaviour, and to actually think that such behaviour could be seen as funny, is likely to be the behaviour of a narcissist, and probably one that would be found within the lesser category. Rexha, 33, was playing a concert Sunday at the Rooftop at Pier 17 on her Best Fucking Night of My Life tour when she was struck in the face by a phone. As seen in a Twitter video, the Back to You artist was seen singing and heading down towards the front of the stage in a purple ensemble with her blonde locks down. As the Brooklyn native was facing the audience, a phone was seen hurtling towards her from the crowd and hitting her directly in the face. After a moment of shock, the Grammy-nominated vocalist fell to her knees with her head down as multiple crew members in the wings rushed to her aid. In a separate video, the man is found by security who pulled him out of the crowd and over the barrier. Meanwhile, fans shouted "arsehole" and "that's assault" as he was taken away. As she was tended to by medics and being led behind the curtain at the venue, Rexha gave the audience a wave. She can be seen, of course, sporting the injury, and Malvana, in his photos, you can almost see the smirk that occurs with relation to the narcissist reveling in the attention that he's receiving. A number of Rexha's fans took to Twitter to vent about the senseless attack on the pop star. Bebe is literally one of the sweetest, most unproblematic people in the music industry. She does not deserve this. Some of y'all really need to leave her alone, OMG, one fan wrote. Another fan of the Baby I'm Jealous performer wrote, "Absolutely great show, ruined by a fan throwing their phone at Bebe Rexha. Hopefully she is okay after that." One fan complained about the lack of decorum on the part of the fan who pitched the phone on stage. And of course, that such behaviour, to fling a phone at somebody, is a physical assault. And for him to say, "I wanted to see if I could hit her," and that it were to see, he thought that it would be funny, is demonstrative of an absence of any kind of facade management, a lack of intelligence, but also a lack of emotional empathy. Now, as I explained, we can't say that he's a narcissist based upon this one instance, but there's a good chance that he is, and if he is one, this is a good example to show you of how a lesser narcissist, most likely lower lesser or middle lesser, would behave. He doesn't know this lady. Presumably, he only knows her as a consequence of her relative fame. He's paid to go to her concert. And then he decides, in order to get a reaction because he thinks it would be funny, to hit somebody. That is a skewed perspective, the absence of a moral compass. And therefore, it's demonstrative of a sense of entitlement to behave that way. I reinforce, on the paucity of evidence, we can't say for certain what he is, but if he were one, this is the likely behaviour of a lesser narcissist, middle lesser or lower lesser. A mid-ranger might do this, but it's unlikely because of the damage it would do to the facade. A greater wouldn't bother with such rudimentary behaviours. Upper lesser A or upper lesser B, there is a possibility of doing so, but they're generally a little more intelligent and therefore wouldn't see that this would necessarily garner the outcome subconsciously that would be required. It could happen, but it's more likely to take place with a lower cognitive functioning, lower lesser or middle lesser. Thus, this is the type of behaviour that a lower lesser or middle lesser would engage in, and how they would behave, showing that sense of entitlement to strike another human being with an object, doing so not because she's caused a problem, but quite simply because he thought it would be funny. This, of course, is being done to draw attention onto him, and there's no expression of remorse thereafter. He admits to it, again showing a low cognitive function, but assertion of control by agreement. He shows no accountability for the behaviours. It's haughty and dismissive in effect. It's a "so what?" He feels entitled to treat somebody this way, showing no emotional empathy, and is a useful example of how a lower lesser or a middle lesser might well behave, providing with a snapshot of that type of behaviour, and perhaps supporting that he is that individual himself. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.